So this is going to be a review of a fight that took place in the Philippines today for the IBF Super Flyweight Championship. Now, formerly held by McJoe Arroyo of Puerto Rico. Of course, a lot of people know him as the twin brother of McWilliams Arroyo, who fought Roman Gonzalez on HBO earlier this year. And number one contender, title challenger, Jerwin Ancajas of the Philippines, a fighter that's promoted by Manny Pacquiao under MP Promotions. Of course, MP Promotions wound up winning the purse bid for this. That's why it wound up happening over in the Philippines as opposed to either Puerto Rico or the USA, since Arroyo is actually a PBC Heyman fighter. So Arroyo managed to pull off, I don't necessarily want to say an upset, but I mean, like, I guess maybe a slight upset. Maybe like he was slightly an underdog going into this fight, from what I understood. But I mean, I saw this as a pretty even fight going into it. I actually slightly favored Ancajas going into it, considering the fact that Arroyo has actually been very inactive, considering or excuse me, since he won the title last year. I think it was July of last year against Arthur Villanueva. It was on a PBC card. It was actually for the vacant title, the vacant version of the IBF Super Flyweight title that Zolani Tete had actually vacated not too long after he defeated Paul Butler in a big upset over in the UK to win that title. He won it. I think made one defense, then vacated the title before Arroyo got a shot at him. So Arroyo and Villanueva, number one, number two contenders, fought for the vacant belt. Arroyo won that in a pretty close tit-for-tat type of fight. Went in here against Ancajas, and it was kind of another tit-for-tat type of fight to a certain degree. I thought Ancajas got to a good early lead, though, and I mean, that pretty much leads me into the round by round. And at first, both started both to the body and to the head. Ancajas seemed to be able to get off a little bit quicker. He had good right hands to the body, good left crosses to the body and head. The thing is, both of these guys are southpaw. So when I'm talking about rights, usually it's gonna be right hooks. When it's the lefts, it's the left cross. Arroyo was having difficulty with the timing. I think a lot of the time, due to Ancajas' height and reach advantage. Ancajas is a couple inches taller than Arroyo. Arroyo's about 5'4". Ancajas is shade over 5'6", and he was able to use his height and reach to his advantage in this fight, where he was able to kind of either in certain moments keep at enough distance where he could get off his own shots and Arroyo really had to reach to land his, or there were times where he managed to kind of either catch and counter Arroyo shots, which was later in the fight, or times where he was able to kind of evade Arroyo shots and counter with his own, and his shots would be more land with more leverage and more flush because of the fact that he didn't have to necessarily reach as far in order to reach Arroyo, whereas Arroyo, in order to land his shots, he tended to have to almost like overextend himself, which would sometimes leave him in a bad position. So if he got hit with a shot, even if it was just a grazing shot by Ancajas, it would move his whole body, and it would probably create a bigger impression for the judges and for the crowd, especially being in the Philippines where the crowd was, going wild for Ancajas with every successful connect he managed to land. But into round two, Arroyo came out a bit more aggressively, had a hard, stiff right jab, good body shots behind it, trying to steady his target. Ancajas came back with some good right hooks and left crosses to give Arroyo some pause. Started out jabbing Arroyo a little bit, but Arroyo started going back to the body. Ancajas was trying to counter him up to the head. It was a close round. I wound up giving it to Arroyo, so I had a 19-19 through 2 rounds. Round 3, there was some early clinching, got fought out of, and Ancajas managed to land some solid left hooks to the body and to the head. Landed a hard left as Arroyo was trying to duck. Arroyo was winning the inside hook exchange, but he was having more trouble at distance, and that kind of told the tale of the fight in large part, where it seemed like Arroyo's technical craft on the inside was a little bit better. He threw like shorter, sharper punches, but Ancajas would at least be able to respond on the inside with shots of his own, even if they weren't necessarily landing as clean or as hard as Arroyo's were. But he was also able to land really well at mid and long range, whereas Arroyo was having a little bit more trouble, and especially because of the fact that when Arroyo would land, Ancajas usually had a pretty good response. When Ancajas would land, Arroyo's responses weren't quite as consistent in terms of trying to throw punches back or land punches in return. A lot of the times it would be either him trying to duck and bob around, or either just clinching, basically like kind of a defensive maneuver that didn't necessarily set up his own offense in the aftermath. Round 4, Ancajas was at a distance, kind of just beating Arroyo to the punch. Arroyo was getting off well on the inside, but Ancajas was doing pretty good body work himself. Arroyo was clinching a little bit. Ancajas was looking a little bit looser, a little bit more fluid, a little bit more agile. Arroyo was sitting down on his punches a little bit more, but the problem is he didn't necessarily time everything well enough or get inside well enough, cut off the ring well enough to really make that sense of sitting down on your punches as optimal as he could have, because of the fact that Ancajas was able to either kind of like roll away from him, especially being already at a distance where Arroyo had to extend himself, or even just catch it and counter. Arroyo landed a couple of good shots at the end of the round. It was a close round. I wound up giving it to Ancajas, so through 4 I had a 39-37. Round 5, Arroyo landed some good hooks inside. Ancajas was landing his own as well as some left crosses. Gave that one to Ancajas. Round 6, at mid-round, like it started off pretty well, pretty even. Arroyo was doing some pretty good work of his own. In the mid-round, though, Arroyo landed a good 1-2. Ancajas answered back with a 1-2, then another 1-2, and the second one he managed to really rock Arroyo with the left cross. Arroyo got rocked back. Ancajas kind of in the flurry of the follow-up kind of pushed Arroyo down for a slip call. It could have been called a knockdown, but I think the ref appropriately called it a slip because it was almost like he landed the punches and then he kind of pulled his head down and, forced Arroyo down to a knee. Ancajas landed some pretty heavy shots in the follow-up. Arroyo was clinching and digging to the body, trying to get back into the fight. He managed to actually fight Ancajas off of him with some clean hooks and crosses, because in the follow-up flurry of Ancajas trying to actually drop Arroyo, trying to actually put him on the canvas because it seemed like he had hurt him, he actually gave some of his height away, which was really his advantage, which was really the shots that led to him hurting Arroyo in the first place. And Arroyo was able to land some sharp, clean inside shots that managed to back Ancajas out at the end of the round. However, Ancajas did control that round, so I gave that round to Ancajas. Round 7, McJoe Arroyo started off not looking hurt at all. Landed some pretty good inside hooks. Ancajas seemed a little bit more cautious, possibly winded because of the fact that he exerted so much in the previous round. Ancajas was throwing a little bit more, but Arroyo was showing some elusiveness. He was doing a little bit of in and out movement, a little bit of bobbing and weaving as he moved in and out, which was a good little bit of torso movement as well as kind of a forward and backward movement with his feet. So it's like he was mixing up the side to side and the front back at the same time, which was a clever strategy, something he probably should have done more throughout the entire fight. He might have made it easier on himself. But Ancajas was still able to make himself a difficult target overall. He was landing pretty clean, but Arroyo was landing cleaner. And the thing is, in spite of the fact that Ancajas was throwing more, Arroyo was still landing the cleaner punches overall. Ancajas finally landed a hard left at the end of the round, but overall, the round 7 I thought was controlled by Arroyo. Wound up giving that one to him, so I had it 68-65 through 7. So it's a fairly close fight to a certain degree. Ancajas was slightly pulling away in a way, but in the next round is where he really started to pull away, because in round 8, Arroyo continued with some good inside work. Ancajas was responding hard himself. And the thing is, Ancajas was doing a little bit of a catch and counter, more so than he had done early on. He had like almost like a high guard, and as Arroyo would kind of lean in to try and land a hard shot, Ancajas managed to catch it on his gloves and counter either with a quick snappy right hook and kind of either retreat, like kind of like hop back into the side, or he would throw a left cross and then shoot to the side that he basically shoot to his right after throwing the left cross, since that's where his body was going in the first place. They traded body shots, and Ancajas landed a very, very hard body shot. He landed a couple more right after that, and he managed to square Arroyo up on the ropes, where he landed an uppercut that actually knocked Arroyo through the ropes, landed him basically like on his backside. It's like Arroyo was almost cut up on the ropes. He landed a perfect shot with the positioning just right, and you could tell that Arroyo wasn't really hurt by the uppercut that knocked him through the ropes. He was really more hurt by the body shots, and you could see that overall, as right after he got up from the from the 8 count, essentially, because he made the 8 count before the ref got the 10, that in the aftermath of that, kind of like earlier when Ancajas had hurt Arroyo actually landed the cleaner shots after being dropped, after being hurt. than Ancajas did. So it showed that Arroyo, one, wanted to get back into the fight. He realized that, oh shit, this is going to be a 10-8 round for Ancajas. I need to get back into this. And two, he wasn't necessarily as hurt as it might seem from the fact that he was knocked down. It seemed more like he was hurt from the body shot momentarily, and then that led to him having bad footwork. It led to him being squared up and gave Ancajas that advantage that he took immediate advantage of, where he dropped a squared up opponent with a hard shot. So Ancajas definitely won the round, in spite of the fact that Arroyo came back well at the end. Basically gave himself a 5-point lead by this point on my card through round 8, 78 to 73. It was because it was a 10-8 round. Round 9, Ancajas continued to control the round, landed hard first. Arroyo's landing hard. This was a pretty even round, pretty good round until the end, where it seemed like Ancajas managed to hurt Arroyo pretty badly. To the body. He managed to hurt him with a good couple of flurries to the body, really hard body shots that were well leveraged, where he was really putting a lot of mustard on the shots as Arroyo was trying to throw his own. So it's like he caught Arroyo in the exchange with body shots, which seemed to hurt him really badly. It was at the end of the round, however, so he didn't really get as much of a chance to follow up and possibly drop him again. But he definitely clearly won the round. Round 10, pretty much round 10 and 11, Arroyo did significantly better. Actually, really all the last 3 rounds, I wound up giving 10, 11, and 12 to Arroyo. But I thought that both the 10th and the 12th were very close rounds. It seemed like Ancajas was getting a little bit winded through the last few rounds, and I think he had enough of an overall lead on the scorecards, and he felt he probably had enough of a lead on the scorecards, especially since he was landing overall the more eye-catching shots that the crowd was really responding to, that he could somewhat coast to the decision, but he was still throwing a lot of his own shots. Like I said, the round 10 and round 12 were very close. They could have gone to either fighter. I just happened to give him to Arroyo. I thought he landed slightly cleaner work, especially on the inside, and he outworked Ancajas as well. It seemed like Ancajas through the last 3 rounds was a tad winded, and in particular in the 11th, he didn't really throw very much at all. So the 11th to me was a clear Arroyo round. He was landing hard shots on the inside. Ancajas seemed to be a little bit more retreating. He was trying to kind of catch him, do a little bit of pot shotting, but it wasn't necessarily working out for him. But overall, pretty much in round 12, they both were looking to punctuate the round. Arroyo was definitely looking for a knockout. Ancajas was just looking to finish off the fight in stride, strongly. But at the end of the fight, I wound up having it 115 to 112 for Jerwin Ancajas. A good win, a tough competitive fight for him, but a win that he definitely won clearly. The other two out of the 3 judges had it wider than I did. One of the judges actually agreed with me. He had it 115 to 112. The other 2 had it 117 to 110 for Ancajas and 118, 109 for Ancajas. And I actually can't necessarily argue with those scores entirely, because of the fact that Ancajas was landing such eye-catching shots. It's almost like you can't help but give him a few, like, you could have given him all those close rounds. Like, if I would have given Ancajas all the close rounds, then I probably would have had it about that wide, because there were several swing rounds where I kind of split them evenly between Arroyo and Ancajas. If I would have just given them all to Ancajas, I probably would have had a much wider scorecard, similar to the other 2 judges. But it was just a really good fight, a well-fought fight, and just another in the series of fights that are pretty much going on within about a week and a half of each other at super flyweight. We have a new IBF champion now, Jerwin Ancajas, a guy that I would personally now rank in the super flyweight ranks, probably about maybe number 3, number 4, just behind Naoya Inoue and Carlos Cuadras, clearly about equal level with the likes of Luis Concepcion and Cesar Zorongvasai. And then, of course, we have Naoya Inoue, the WBO champ, going to be fighting tomorrow versus Karunja Rupielnod, and Carlos Cuadras versus Roman Gonzalez on the 10th next week. So, just a lot of good action to be happening. Jerwin Ancajas, considering the fact that he's promoted by MP Promotions, Manny Pacquiao's company, he's likely to get some pretty good title opportunities, like unification opportunities, big money opportunities, both in the Philippines and stateside, or in Japan as well. It seems like almost all these guys are willing to unify. Ancajas, he only has 1 loss as well as 1 draw in his past. That 1 loss was actually by majority decision to Mark Anthony Geraldo, another Filipino, a guy that actually fought and lost to Arroyo by unanimous decision. But Ancajas is a good fighter, strong young fighter, and a guy that's open to unification, open to big money fights. And I'm hoping that we see them come about. So that's gonna be pretty much it for this one, guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one, which is likely to be the Inoue fight, and I'll catch you guys on that one. Peace.